Hello, and thank you for tuning in again live. Today is Monday, January 29th. It is noon, and you are currently watching the Skill Building Monday drawing group here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo channel. I am your host for today. My name is Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please drop us a comment or let us know in the chat. And please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or you can find us in all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and open up your web browser and do a quick search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you'll find it all, except for the book, which is still currently out of print. But no matter where you are watching live or on demand, you can always get the latest, most up to date information, all available at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. We've got three options for you. You do not have to subscribe right away. We always recommend that you do, but it's not a necessity. The three options are: first, you can take a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. Good, little tasty tidbit just to kind of see if it's what you're into. Or you can get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals. Or you can take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown, which, for fellow tattoo history nerds such as myself, highly recommend it. It's absolutely amazing, covers everything that we could possibly want to know about tattoo history. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details, as well as access to our Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is a lot like our Roku channel. It's got 13 different episodes playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as a host of professional development on demand, pay for purchase webinars from over 20 world class tattoo artists. People such as Andre Malcolm, who's got a whole koi fish half sleeve seminar. Bob Tyrell has a whole skulls seminar. BJ Betts, 3 hour lettering seminar. All of those and a whole lot more, all available at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. Once again, if this is working for you, please drop us a comment or a chat. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That way, you always stay up to date with all of the new shows coming out and all of the new episodes. And please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Now, we do have a number of weekly staple shows that we always encourage people to tune into. Starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m., we have Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we go through and we discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies, help us get back to our roots, our fundamental roots of being a fine artist in the tattoo world. And once again, that is Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, 9 a.m. Monday mornings. Following that, at 12 noon on Mondays, we have the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group here live with me every Monday at noon, where we go through and we work on building different skills. Maybe it's working on light source or flow versus counterflow, or any number of other different skills. Maybe it's Procreate tips and tricks. We cover a lot of different topics on this show. And that takes place every Monday at noon. Following Skill Building Mondays with me at noon on Mondays. At 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. This is only available for people that have a Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution or a Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscription. However, I can tell you from personal experience, having done it for a bit over 2 years straight through, you cannot go wrong. And the price is absolutely well worth it. Even if you only do the Monday night drawing groups, it's more than appropriate. And it's going to be unbelievably beneficial for you. If you look at the stuff I was doing before I started doing the Monday night drawing groups and the stuff that I'm doing now, there is a notable difference in where I'm at skill wise and artistically. So, can't recommend that enough. Following all of the shows on Monday, on Tuesday at 11 a.m., we have the Tattoo Weekly Show with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Jake Meeks from the Fireside Tattoo Network. And in that show, we go through and we cover some of the current events in tattooing, whether it's new laws or legislation being passed, maybe it's new technology, new techniques, different things that have to do with tattooing and the tattoo industry. So if you want to stay up to date on all the new stuff going on in the industry, take a look at the Tattoo Weekly Show. That's 11 a.m. on Tuesday mornings. Following that, on Wednesday mornings, we have the Tattoo Now Show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing. Maybe it's marketing or getting your travel visas. Maybe it's marketing for a show that you're traveling to. Maybe it's a better way to go through and analyze client workflow and getting new people in. All of that and a lot more. That's the Tattoo Now Show with Gabe Ripley, Wednesdays at noon. Following that, Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast, which is available. It's a great way for us to go through and kind of share some of our stories about our tattoo collections. There's a lot of great topics that get discussed during that podcast, and that's Thursdays at 6 p.m. We have a couple of live events, a couple of special events coming up. Tonight at 6 p.m. EST, we have Paint Night with Renee Little, where we get to go through and do like a live paint jam and discuss a whole bunch of different stuff when it comes down to painting and tattooing. We usually share a lot of different stories, stuff like that. It's absolutely phenomenal. And that's Paint Night with Renee Little tonight at 6 p.m. Following Paint Night with Renee Little tonight at 6. At 7 p.m. EST, we have a live interview with Anthony Tex from Deadly Tattoos. I know he's a huge inspiration to me, and he's really someone that I look up to in this industry. So take a look tonight. That is going to be a live interview with Anthony Tex at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Would like to go through and take a minute to thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything updated. As we know, living in this post-pandemic era, there's still certain tattoo events that are getting rescheduled and postponed. So if you want to stay up to date with the most latest and greatest, most current tattoo event information coming to a city or town near you, maybe it's one you plan on traveling to, take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to say a very special thank you to tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattoo artists of all levels. If you are looking for the way to get new clients in the chair that really want to get the kind of tattoos that you really want to do, take a look at Tattoo Now. They are competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, and scheduling software out there. They can help you get set up with new websites if you need them to. TattooNow.com is literally the number one go-to for technology to help you get new clients and to help you retain your old clients. Of course, this wouldn't be Reinventing the Tattoo without a very personal and professional thank you and mention of Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs. I think he still has a couple of custom coil machines for sale, as well as countless original fine art paintings and fine art prints. And that's all available at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to say a very special thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries, the number one resource for tattoo apprentices and apprentice hopefuls. So if you're looking to find more information on how to become a tattoo apprentice, or whether or not the apprenticeship you are in is a good one, maybe it's not a good one, but you don't know because you've never gone through one before, take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. It will help you to figure all of that stuff out and a lot more. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, please go through and post a positive review on the channel. Help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, even if it's a virtual event, it's totally fine. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community. Or if you're looking for a fine art or a tattoo design critique, please email management at reinventingthetattoo.com. We'll be happy to go through and take a look at whatever you send us and get it back to you just as soon as we can. And that kind of wraps it up for the intro for today. That's just the intro, so don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Well, not yet, at least. Let's see. Let's see what we got. Okay, cool. Good idea. Not bad at all. Sorry, just got a text from the man behind the curtain, one of the guys that runs everything. What's going on, Atomic? Long time no see. Hope you've been doing well. Awesome. Cool. So I'm actually going to we'll throw that guy up there for now. Hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear for everyone. If I'm not, please by all means just let me know. But I should be good to go. Was just down at the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention, which is like my home show this past weekend. I wasn't working at it. First time in 14 years I have not worked at that show. And, I learned a lot just by going there and walking around and watching different artists work and watching some of the tattoo contests and competitions, asking some of the people whose work I really, really, admire, just asking them some questions while I was there. It's a great wealth of information to go through and pick up on new techniques, new materials, all kinds of stuff like that. And anyone that's been watching this show for any length and period of time knows that I love the convention life and I love the convention scene. And that's like my happy place. Everything else in the world, in my world, might be, totally off, might not be going very well, but you throw me in the middle of a tattoo convention, man, and I'm in my element. That's what I love. Now, not to say that you can't gain insight and information from other sources. There's plenty of other sources out there, obviously. But for me, there's nothing like going and watching top tier tattoo artists tattoo live in front of you and being able to pick their brains as they're going through and working on something so that you can really see, oh, okay, not only are they using this, this, and this, but you can watch their hand speed, you can look at their hand pressure, the amount of needle hang that they have, and all of that information that you're absorbing, you can then take back with you to your studio and then apply it to what you're doing. Now, obviously, if you have some practice, can test out some of these new things first before you try them. But you never know. Sometimes it can be a game changer. Sometimes watching one little trick that one person puts into a tattoo can completely and totally change the way that you do things and can help you take the tattoos that you're doing to a whole new level. So I always encourage people, even if you only get out there for a couple hours, try to find some tattoo conventions in your area. Just go out there and watch people work for a little bit. Ask them questions, see if they're willing to answer them. If they're not, that's fine. Don't hold it against them. There are still certain people out there that, might be a little bit more protective over the information that they have. That's their prerogative. They can do that. But I think you'll find that there are quite a few people that are out there that are willing to share this kind of information. So go through, take a look. Um, you'd be surprised at how much you can learn just by walking around. Um, Update. I will be at the Skindustry Tattoo Expo in Allentown, Pennsylvania, coming up at the end of March. Please stay tuned for more on that. As well, I'll also be traveling out to Hell City in Ohio. So if anyone would like to get tattooed at Hell City, it's going to be absolutely epic. I cannot wait. You want to talk about a top tier tattoo convention? This is an incredible place to be. Um, Take a look, healthcity.com. It's amazing. Just trust me, it's a show that you want to be at. Today we are working on a couple of different things. Let's go through, and I'm going to switch from here. I'll throw that in the upper corner. Awesome. So today I'm going to stress and work on flow versus counter flow. That's something that I find dragons are very helpful when really trying to look at um, flow versus counter flow. Because with dragons, there's a lot of different moving parts, and there's a lot of different ways you can get things to look and move in a three-dimensional space. But making sure that you've got like the right flow and counter flow when it comes down to dragons can kind of honestly make or break the design. Personal opinion, but it's something that I've picked up on. There are some really great people out there that really know dragons and they know them like the back of their hand. And they're phenomenal with them. One of them, in my opinion, is Anthony Tex, who I'll be interviewing later tonight. So if anyone ever has any questions for Anthony, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I'll be sure to add those to my list of questions for tonight. But I'm just going through. Today, I already have a dragon kind of mapped out as far as the head and the body goes. So what I'm really trying to start doing is, you know what? Let me just kind of minimize or lower the opacity on a lot of this stuff. This way it doesn't stand out too much. The head I can leave totally opaque. That's fine because that's my focal point. Well, one of them. So, one thing that I did want to stress to people is sometimes when you're drawing and you're designing tattoos, it really helps to go through and even if you draw analog, throw a piece of tracing paper over top of it. Get yourself like a big Sharpie or you know, uh, something nice and light, like a highlighter, works really well for this kind of stuff on a new layer. Go through and just kind of like look at the angles that you already have going, right? So I've got both of the horns that's drawing my eye up to this direction, up here. Okay, I've got my body coming down here and then down here. Okay, so right here, these horns are creating some counterflow because it's going perpendicular or in the opposite direction of the body behind it. Great, awesome. So that's already good because that's going to create an illusion of depth there. So ideally, when I'm kind of figuring out where do I want my hands and my arms to be, I know that if I've got this general body type, right? This general kind of line here, typically speaking, I'm going to want something that goes over top of that, right? And if I can go over top of that and I can counter this as well, even better. Why? Because that's going to create this automatic sense of depth, right? Because right here, you can even see even if I just erase a little bit, you can start to see like a little bit of depth being created just by erasing a couple of lines, right? So now you've almost created this almost like a Celtic knotwork kind of layout, right? And Celtic knotwork is great for recognizing flow versus counterflow within the knotworks, because you've got a lot of perpendicular and intersecting angles. So, it's pretty basic to see it within certain knotwork because it automatically creates that illusion of depth. You've got certain things coming over top, certain things, going behind. So that's going to automatically create that illusion and that sense of depth. Now, for me, kind of did that a little bit backwards. I probably should have gone through and done something like that. Now, the only thing that's going to throw this off is the fact that this body, this lower portion of the body, is moving backwards in space. Okay. So we've got this part here that's already moving backwards from here, right? And then it moves backwards again here. So we've got backwards, 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 which is good to create, once again, a sense of depth and dimension in kind of what we're doing. Because now I'm working on at least 3 planes of existence in the physical world, because I've got the head of the dragon, that's in the forefront, that's all the way up front. And we're joined by the legend himself, Mr. Wisdom.
Oh, Jason, great to see you, buddy. How's it going?
It's going well, man. It's going well. I've been on a dragon kick for like the past 2 weeks. So I'm just diving into that a little bit more, looking at flow and counterflow for a little bit. Just trying to figure out, how do I want my arms to lay on this dragon?
Outstanding. Yeah, so you've got like that tree of life.
Yep, pretty
Sort of
much.
yeah. Yeah, pretty interesting. I
Yeah,
like how it
it's
overlays on top of this, on top of the design.
it really does, and that's something you can always use to kind of check things to see, what's going on and where, and is this like proportionate? Does it have the right angles? Is it going to be visually interesting? Um, but it's something that I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day, and he's like, dude, man, it doesn't make sense in my mind how, like, you can do all of this stuff and it's got such great readability and it's got such great direction, such great flow, but you're still maximizing your depth and your space. And I was like, oh, maybe that'll be a good topic to go over during Monday's show. So I did want to touch on this for a little bit today, but yeah, I'm
Well,
just
it
kind of,
seems to indicate like rhythm.
it does
That there's a
visual
rhythm
rhythm.
to things. There's a rhythm to life, and so I think you're bringing that out in the drawing,
Well,
making that sort of apparent, and with the with all of that sort of alternating. The like
Well,
you said,
there's
flow,
rhythm.
flow.
There's rhythm in lots of different parts of anything that we draw, right? And that's
Mm,
one of the keys to making it visually harmonious.
that's a good point.
Even as far as like the rhythm of the hairs on the jaw of the dragon, there's a rhythm there. You see these graduating kind of protruding aspects, even the eyebrows. There's a rhythm, right? When you do scales, there's a rhythm to scales. When you do like the little horns on the back of the dragon, there's a rhythm to that. Making sure that they're all evenly spaced. Um, there's a definite sense of rhythm in a lot of different aspects of anything that we do. And I think, to me, it's one of the most visually appealing things in any tattoo that's out there, when you can see that visual rhythm and it kind of draws you in to follow that rhythm. So maybe I'm just, thinking a little bit out there, but it's something I really personally look for.
I agree with what you're saying. I also think that it's important. It just really is important, and it can be easy to overlook. making things like too static, making things too uh, I don't know, it kills it. Right? It doesn't have that life. And
Right.
so the way that you're the way that you're composing this, I think that's what's valuable. So I like the topic. But I also I wanted to I wanted to talk about your upcoming interview. I'm so excited to see your interview
Dude.
with Anthony.
Yeah.
So cool, dude.
It's been, I've been talking to him since the Puerto Rico convention last year about possibly jumping on, answering some questions, doing some interview stuff. And was supposed to reach out to him after the Deadly show I did a few times, didn't hear back. Life gets busy sometimes for people, man, and I get that. But I finally talked to him about it. And we finally set up a date and time for it, and I am absolutely stoked. Um, I'm constantly looking at his work and like picking it apart and analyzing it, and like, oh, okay, I see why this happened and why he did this, and this makes sense to me here, but I wonder what was the reason behind this part here, or how can I really maximize, my visual clarity of this aspect of what I'm doing, um, because everything that he draws, it's very easily legible. Like it makes sense. You can pick out here's a finger of a dragon, here's a horn of a dragon, here's a head of a dragon, here's a wing of a falcon, here's the head of a snake or the body of a snake. Like you can pick all of that out so clearly, and it's so easily readable that to me it's just very visually appealing in that sense. It doesn't tend to get confusing at all. So it's something that I'm always kind of like trying to figure out and look at. And I think a lot of it has to do with his positive and negative field of view, right? Guy talks about this a lot in Reinventing the Tattoo, where he looks at creating that visual rhythm with positive and then negative and then positive. Um, negative being areas of negative space or no tattooing, and then areas of positive next to that to create a rhythm, but also to break up your positive areas. And that's something else that I've noticed in a lot of Anthony's work. And it's something I'm always trying to get better at doing. So I'm very,
Yeah,
very
contrast.
excited. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
contrast.
And then
Amazing.
utilizing contrast to create a rhythm. Um, Rhythm's one of my New Year's resolutions. So that's kind of why I'm like I've really been kind of focusing on that for the past couple of weeks. Well, actually, I'm doing a little bit of a different resolution this year. By the way, I'm doing like I've got a once a month resolution, a once a quarter resolution. Stuff I want to accomplish in the first 6 months, and then stuff I want to accomplish all year long. So it's I'm kind of breaking it up so it's not quite as daunting. Um, but I've always been one of those people that if I make a resolution, there's a 99% chance I'm going to stick to it. So it's but working on visual rhythm is definitely something that I know a lot of the pieces I've produced in the past have been lacking. So I knew I wanted to put that on my radar for this year. And I just wanted to draw more. But but yeah,
Yeah, it makes the
contrast is
most sense.
huge.
You just it just felt like drawing dragons. So
Yeah.
that makes the most
Well,
sense of all,
you know,
so I love that bit.
yeah, who doesn't like drawing dragons? I love it.
Indeed. Indeed.
So many parts and angles and ways that you can make things look different, you know.
So I don't mean to I'm not trying to hijack your
No, no,
show, but
you're
I'm
fine.
gonna click this button real quick.
Okay.
Oh no, never mind.
Which button?
I'm trying to figure out Restream and
Oh, gotcha.
how to make how to spotlight people more efficiently, and I've got it figured out a little bit, but it is oh, there's growing pains with the with the new
So I
platform.
did want to try something.
Try it. Oh, There's me. Now I can't hear you. So if you turned off your switch, then
That's what I thought.
you
Darn.
so if you click your camera like on the side, so you turn off your camera. Now you're still on, I believe.
Oh,
So
okay.
there you go. So now you can highlight people this way. But if you want to go back to you, I think so. If I turn off my camera, now I think I'm still here.
Yep, I can still
All
hear
right.
you just fine.
So this is how we have to interact. Like, you have to be actively engaged with it if you want to be a part of part of the stream. But
Right.
I'm enjoying watching you draw here, and I see you on YouTube drawing away, and you got to keep up the great work, Jason.
Oh, well, thank you.
Keep
I
up the great
appreciate
work,
that.
buddy.
Yeah.
And also, I can't wait to see your interview tonight with Anthony. It's gonna be fantastic. So yeah, break a
Yeah.
leg, and
Well, thanks.
you're gonna do
I'm
pretty
not
great.
gonna lie. I'm a little nervous about it, but
Nah, don't be.
I mean,
You guys are
I know I'm
cool.
gonna be fine. And
Yeah.
we've talked quite a bit in the past, and FaceTime and all that
How's
stuff.
how'd that tattoo heal up that he gave you?
Pretty awesome, dude. It's sick. Um, let's see if I can switch back here for a minute. So I had to like put it up on as
Oh,
like part of the ad for the
there it is.
interview.
Oh man, that thing
Yeah,
is
goes all the way
gorgeous.
around.
Gorgeous.
And like, trying to do this through the camera doesn't really do it justice, but all of these
No,
purples that are in there
yeah.
mixed in with like some of these like dull pinks in the eye socket, which coincides with the red of the chrysanthemum. It's just it's visually harmonious across the board, which is something that I really like. And I really loved his use of like inclusion with warms and cools, because he's got this like grayish purple that is that he used for the majority of like the shading, the midtone and light shadows on the skull itself. And it when you put that in there next to these vibrant reds and vibrant yellows, it creates this subtlety that a lot of people look at it and they're like, "Oh man, that's got, oh, is that like a blue? Is that, oh, that must just be a gray." And it's like, well, it's actually a purple. It's like a light grayish lavender. And they're like, "Whoa, mind blown." Right? So one of the questions I have on my questionnaire for tonight is, how do you pick your colors? Right? Because there's got to be some kind of a method to the madness there. There has to be. Um, cool versus warm. Obviously, there's going to be uh, a big contrast there. Muted versus pure, or high versus low chroma. There's going to be a big contrast there. But how do you decide what to put where? It's something that I've constantly been asking myself. And as much as I love the other hand that he tattooed on me, the Tibetan skull, as much as I love this one, he absolutely knocked it out of the park on this guy. So I'm very happy for that, to the point that I'm hopefully getting my back started this year. So we'll see what happens, but uh, it's definitely something that should be an interesting event going on at Paradise, if it comes through. So yeah. But if you see me in lots of pain, if anyone's going to the Paradise Gathering this year, by the way, taking place in October, um, definitely this is not going to be a Paradise Gathering you want to miss. It's going to be epic. Um, just from some of the people that I've reached out to that are interested in teaching at it, this is going to be an absolutely epic lineup. So it's not going to be one you want to miss. But if anyone that does go and sees me there, and if I look like I'm in pain, it's probably because I am. Um, like I said, if all goes well, I'll be getting my full turtle back piece started at Paradise this year. If not started before, and then we just do like a session at Paradise, which I think would be cool. But it's going to be pretty awesome, and I can't wait. So yeah. So you guys will
Amazing.
get to watch me live in pain. So if you hear screaming at all while that's streaming, that's probably why. Um, yeah.
Well, both those tattoos on your hands are they're very lovely, and it's an incredible like job that Anthony did for you. So I can't wait for your interview, man. I'm like
Yeah.
I think it's great to see you succeeding and doing really well, and I'm gonna let you get back to it. So thanks
Okay.
for
Fair
having me on,
enough.
buddy. And I will
James,
see
you are
you.
always welcome. You're a constant source of
Appreciate it. You
inspiration for
too.
me,
Same
man.
thing. Yeah, we're.
So,
I think we're. We're both trying to. We're really trying to. Come up with a great format, and I like what you've been doing. So anyway, keep it up. I'll see you.
all right. Take care. Have a good one.
Peace.
Okay. So, anyone that's still kind of watching me doodle on here, you'll notice I'm just starting out with like some quick wireframes just to get like direction and placement down. Looking at how do I want fingers to be kind of positioned? How do I want, maybe I want this guy to kind of like curl back a little bit, maybe be more like an opposable thumb. Um, so a lot of it just comes down to figuring out your angles first. Now, looking at some of the flow versus counterflow that I have going on, I know that I want to. mm, Sometimes I'll leave this layer up, but I know that I need something that is going to go in this direction. I know I'm going to want something that kind of comes down in this direction. And then I haven't decided whether or not I want to move the rest of the body down here and kind of bring this up and over or not yet, which very well may end up happening, or maybe even just bringing it over and then back down, but kind of having it like fade and trail off down here. And that's someone else that joined us. Let's see who that is. Brad, what's up?
Hey, man. How's it going today?
It's going pretty well.
What are we drawing today?
Just working on this dragon, trying to figure out some flow versus counterflow, and just trying to make sure that everything's visually interesting. Uh, you know, dragon claws can be a bit tricky because you've got so many different moving parts to them. So trying to figure that out can be a little tricky as far as making sure that all of your flow and counterflow are kind of matching up to make the most visually interesting kind of composition you can. So it's always something that I'm struggling to work on.
Yeah, they're definitely
So
tricky.
yeah, and trying to utilize different perspectives. And it's something I talked about last week was when you start thinking about things in three-dimensional space, right? Like, what looks bigger, a small dot or a big circle, but if you connect them through foreshortening, right, it creates a depth and a dimension. So if you're looking at things and thinking about things in a three-dimensional space, maybe not to that kind of an exaggerated level, but if you're looking at things and thinking about things in a three-dimensional space, you want things moving backwards, coming forwards, other things moving backwards. You want certain things more subtle, but if it doesn't have the right flow, it's not going to look right regardless. So I'm just trying to figure out my flow versus counterflow first before I really start to dive into any of the detail. Block it in, keep it rough, keep it loose, um, and let it kind of build on itself. And it's amazing how things can evolve. But this is one of those things that I'm kind of struggling with here. It's like I know I need counterflow. Let's get rid of all this. I know I'm going to need counterflow here to balance this out. And then
Hey,
I would
Jason,
like to have some kind here.
can you do that thing again where you put me on the thumbnail?
Yes, that
I
would
want to see your drawing better.
There we go.
Yeah, I didn't do my hair up today, so don't want to zoom in on me.
I'm at that point in time where like I don't have too many more days where I can, really worry about that because I'm losing it so quickly now that it's like I'm just kind of tired of caring about it. I think I've got like 4 hairs left on the top of my head and I just don't care. I'm trying to treat those with the utmost respect so they don't fall out too. But
I think I'm on the same page with you there.
yeah. But that's just why I keep it short, man.
That's why I started a hat company.
Oh yeah.
Losing my hair.
I own so many hats, man. It was a compulsion of mine at one point in time. I couldn't go anywhere without, like buying a new hat. I was like, oh man, well, I don't really need another one, but this hat's really cool, so maybe I'll pick this up.
I had a little collection going, and then I started making some of my own. I didn't like hand make them or anything, but I made like the logo design. And I figured I should rock my own logos, So
Oh,
I
absolutely.
didn't really make many. I only had really 1 or 2 hats that I wear now. The winter version and then the summer baseball version.
Right on. Yeah, I've thought about
Made
getting into creating some hat designs and started talking to a few people about it a few years ago, but nothing ever really came of it. Life got in the way and that happens. It's not like, it's something unusual, but maybe one day I'll get back into it.
Yeah, they weren't my best product that I have in terms of trying to get a return on them. Like they were really expensive to produce, and I like to
Yep.
price my things where it can be accessible to most of the people that you know, chatting with my friends. Like don't have a whole lot of money to spend like $80 on a hat. So I try to price it like, 50, 60 if they're depending on the style of hat anyway. And even that's like pretty expensive for a ball cap.
Right.
Some of the looser fitting hats, like the dad caps, they can sell for like 30, I guess. I'm talking Canadian dollars too. But yeah, it didn't have a huge margin for making any money
Yeah,
back on them.
there's hoodies, hats, and a lot of other like really, really awesome merch. Like I've seen women's leggings that had like, were covered in awesome designs and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll get into that as far as like some merch I can create or whatever. And I started looking at it and the cost to profit ratio. And I was like, there's like no return on investment here. So that idea got scrapped real quick. But, I guess if you're ordering enough of them and you plan on selling, X amount over time, maybe it does make a bit of sense. But, if we're doing like a small limited run, definitely wasn't going to be feasible, a feasible product for me to create.
Do you have any merch right now?
I've got prints. I try to sell as many prints as I can. I do all those in house. Uh, so, I'm working on a couple of t-shirt designs. Uh, but, I'm coming out with a couple other like crazy ideas, one of which I can't really get into too much because it's like a really unique idea that I've never seen anyone do. So I can't really talk about it too much, but when it comes out, I'm trying to do like limited quantities and work with other artists, get them involved in them, but they're going to be pretty awesome, like collector's items. It's not going to be tangible or anything like that, but it should be a pretty unique kind of like collectible item. Uh, but more on that later. Well, we can always talk offline about that, and I'll give you an idea of what I'm working on. But
Cool.
right now I'm just a couple of t-shirts, nothing crazy. Um, but mostly just prints and other stuff I can do in house. But yeah, t-shirts are getting a couple new t-shirt designs together, so that's going to be cool.
Nice. Yeah, I've been meaning to do a few new designs. I've only had like 2 or 3 different designs for t-shirts that I've made, but lately I've just been rocking like the one my best seller. Been selling the same one for like probably 2 years now, and I'm like, I need to make a new design. But this one's still selling, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah, why would you cut yourself out on that, right?
I got that in the crew neck sweater now, which was okay.
Nice.
That's a lot more affordable than the hoodies were. I just went with a local company too. Like I priced out all the local printer guys. First, I was printing them by hand myself,
Oof. Yeah.
um, and I was doing such low quantities. I'm still pretty small, obviously, small scale, but having somebody else do the work for me has been a big help for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It maximizes yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but if it maximizes time, then, you know, when it really comes down to it, that's what I'm looking at. I need to just maximize my time because I've got so many different things I'm involved with, everything from doing this podcast to drawing 4 tattoos for the week, for, working on prints, making prints for other artists, which is a service that I offer for, friends, family, word of mouth kind of stuff. But all of that takes time, not to mention I've got a house that I need to take care of. I've got, a cat that needs attention. I've got significant others. So, there's it to me, it all comes down to how can I maximize my time and get the most out of my time while still being involved in all of these other ventures that, I couldn't imagine doing without. I love doing the podcast every week. It gives me that little bit of, oh, that could work. Sorry, squirrel brain. Um, it gives me that little bit of peace that I look forward to every week, where I get to go through and just kind of share, if it's something I've learned recently, if it's something that, I think needs to be discussed, or a new topic or a new idea, or, anything like that. It's something I enjoy doing, and I enjoy talking about tattoos and tattoo industry and adventures and advice, and trying to help people out as much as I can. So I can't ever imagine doing without that, but that also comes into, okay, well, that's, an hour to 2 hours every week that I'm spending doing that, when I could say be, um, working on an oil painting, or maybe I'm doing that instead of, cleaning out the garage or something of that kind of nature. Uh, so, for me, I kind of have to weigh a lot of that stuff, but there are certain things I won't ever do without. So if I can find and outsource something to me, that's going to be a great way to do it. And it's going to benefit me in the long run for sure because I can really maximize the amount of time that I have. Because time is something we can't ever get back.
Hmm.
Most precious commodity out there.
Yeah, I've been struggling with balancing my time. Like you, I like to keep myself busy. Got a lot of things. Can't do them all sometimes.
Right? And that's just kind of the way that life goes sometimes. You can't do everything. You can't. I would love to be a full time oil painter and full time watercolor painter, full time tattoo artist, full time podcaster, full time printmaker and retail merchant. But I just know that unless I stopped sleeping for months at a time, I would never be able to be proficient in any of it. So I kind of had to drill down a few years ago and really kind of reprioritize some things to really start focusing on, who am I? What is it I'm trying to accomplish? What is it I'm trying to do? What are my main priorities, my main objectives? Who am I as a human being, as a person? And then what do I need to focus on to be better at being that person? Um, and it was a definite period of self-discovery, and a definite period of me turning around and starting to tell people, listen, sorry, but I can't help you out with that anymore. That's not something I'm capable of doing. uh, if I really want to get to the point at which I want to be at with my life, I have to start scaling back on certain things that I used to do in order to become better at the things that I really know that I need to do.
It's tough choices.
Oh, without a doubt, and they're not easy choices either. A lot of times it comes down to, well, this person's going to be disappointed, but it's if this is what's going to be the best for me in the long run, I definitely can't short myself out as far as that's considered because that would be a disservice to myself. Um, and that wouldn't put me in the position to where I really could benefit from it. Sometimes you just have to disappoint people. Um, it's never easy and it's never a fun thing to do, but sometimes it's what you have to do.
Yep. Yep. Sometimes. For me, recently, I have a friend who's kind of been my buddy for a while, but I guess you could just say we're growing apart, and that's
Yep.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That happened to quite a few friends of mine that I've had for, 30 years. And, we were on different life paths. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with turning around and evaluating that and saying, listen, I don't have as much time to dedicate to this as I once did. And I apologize for that. But, I'm not going anywhere and I'll be here if you need me. But just know that I've got different priorities now and I've got different things in life that I'm trying to do.
I'm
And a true
guessing
friend
one
will
of the things,
recognize that.
yeah, I'm guessing one of the things you were focusing on is your tattooing and your art.
Bingo.
You do that full time
Yep.
mostly, eh?
Tattooing is my everything in my life that I've been working the past. Oh God, how old am I now? 22 years of my life. Um, I've literally been completely and it's kind of sad, but it's like everything my life has consumed over the last 22 years has been about tattooing in some aspect. From getting better at drawing to working on paintings and understanding color theory, understanding philosophies and ways of life about tattooing in different cultures and different ways that it's viewed around the world, to understanding needles to the absolute like microscopic, point that you can. different lengths, different needle tapers and sizes and gauges and solder points and configurations, radiuses on curved mags versus, skin tension and skin reflex, everything down to machine sciences, you know, um, and understanding that to the best of my possible capability. It's been a long road, but I realized a few years ago that maybe that wasn't the best because my artwork was suffering. So I needed to take a step back from that, focus on just doing good, solid tattoos and improving my artwork. And I switched up a lot of what I was using. I moved away from coil machines because I just kept messing with those all the time, and started to realize that as soon as I did that and I moved over to uh, machines that were a bit more consistent, day in and day out, that I couldn't adjust, that I couldn't, you know, tinker with, that I knew would run predictably every single time without fail, that would run the exact same every single time. And it allowed me to take that step back and really focus on getting better at art, getting better at execution of technique, working on, okay, now I can work on composition. I can execute a small tattoo flawlessly. Perfect. What's the next size up I can go from there? What's the next size up I can go from there? What's the next size up I can go from there? You start out small with like a 3-inch tattoo, 3x3, and execute it perfectly. Perfect lines, solid, saturated, smooth, consistent. Um, then you move on. How's my value in my grisaille under tattoo, right? Get those black and gray values in there. Make sure that those grays are perfectly smooth, perfectly consistent every single time. Then you move on to color. Is my color saturated? Okay, now my color is perfectly saturated and solid. Great. Now I can start working on color palettes and color theory. Also, still working in a 3x3 tattoo. Now I can work on negative space. I can work on contrast more. Now I can move to the next size up. Now I've got perfect execution on a 5x5 tattoo. Now I've got perfect execution on an 8x8 tattoo. Now I've got perfect execution on, a half sleeve, or a leg sleeve or a thigh piece. Now I'm working on backs and torsos and, uh, stuff like that. So it all does build off of each other. Um, and I think part of the reason why I really got into researching all of the stuff that I have about tattoos in the past is because when I was learning about all that stuff, at that point in time, I was not an apprentice and I didn't know how to tattoo properly. So it gave me something where I still felt like I was being productive with it, but I wasn't actually executing tattoos at that point. So, once I started doing tattoos, it kind of took me down a different path. And I've been on that path for almost 15 years now. But it all builds off of each other. I can sit down and discuss religious perspectives of tattooing with anyone out there from any background, and can understand their perspective and look at things in a different way, and it's helpful. It gives us a constant source of topics to talk about and discuss. So that's always a nice thing to be able to have. So it's all been beneficial in one aspect or the other. Um, in some way, shape, or form. And that's kind of led to, being able to sit down with people that are phenomenal tattooers, ask them the right questions. Because if you don't know how to ask the right questions, how are you going to learn and absorb the knowledge and get the knowledge that you really want to have? So it's just kind of the way that I justify things and look at things. Um, Granted, other people that are out there may have different takes and different perspectives on it, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But that's just kind of the way that I'm viewing things and the justification that I put behind it. But it was a
Definitely
big
relate to
choice.
that.
It was a big choice. What do I really want to do? Do I want to be a full-time printmaker? No. Do I want to be a full-time oil painter? I would like to be, but at the same time, that's not necessarily what I've geared my life towards. It's a nice thing to have under my belt to be able to make oil paintings, but it's not something that conceivably I could see myself doing and enjoying it for a long period of time. Um, so it was like, okay, well, if that's not really what I'm trying to gear myself towards, what do I need to do in order to move myself more towards what it is that I do want to do? It's tough choices. It really is. It's not easy. But at the end of the day, we all have our own paths to take in life, and I'm just trying to figure mine out as I go.
That's cool. You're talking about doing all that studying and stuff before you even got your apprenticeship. It's kind of what my journey's been like so far. Is when I first started getting tattoos, and I was like, "Dang, I'm kind of interested in this. I think I want to learn more about this." And started studying as much as I could get my hands on, basically. And yeah, everything I could. I don't think I got. I don't think I found anything on Magnum needle radius. But if I would have got to that point, I think I would have consumed that as well. I was learning a bunch of cool stuff about like ink compositions, and found some really neat information in podcasts about some more recent studies that are starting to happen with like the different compounds that are used in tattoo inks. So I think there's definitely more to learn about that. But
Oh,
been still
absolutely.
trying to keep the studying going as much as I can. Now I've been moving over towards my art skills. Obviously, that's pretty important. Yeah, I had one of my buddies who's a tattoo artist. He kind of gave me a couple mentor sessions, and he's always there for questions. But one of the first sessions I had with him, he drew me like a pyramid.
Hmm.
He's like, "So you want to get into tattooing?" So it's kind of like a pyramid, and at the bottom was like like the majority of the pyramid. Maybe I can just show a little diagram. I thought it was. I still think about that to this day. I don't remember what everything was, but imagine
Right.
like a simple diagram like this. At the bottom was like, fundamental art skills. This would be like mental health and like, bodily health, or I forget the specific things, but at the top little peak of the pyramid was the tattooing, the technical
Yep.
skill of tattooing.
The actual application.
So his way of trying to help me on my journey was to bring me back down here, and we started talking about gesture drawings and the fundamentals of the art thing, and we were going over some emotional kind of he does like EFT coaching too, which I think is
Okay.
really cool. So he likes to talk about like trauma coaching and dealing with the stress of the tattooing career is something you want to consider. Um, Obviously, I would want to think about that. I'm trying to get into it, but he's like had real experience with it, and I'm sure you have as well, that it can be stressful at times.
Oh, it can be unbelievably traumatizing at times. Um, depending on how you're brought into this industry. I mean, I could tell you horror stories about my apprenticeship. Not that I would have changed anything about it. Not about either one, because I ended up going through two of them. Um, the first one was basically a money grab from a local studio. Um, And, as soon as they got their final payment, they fired me. And I was like, oh, all right. So this is the world I live in. All right. But at that point in time, I already made enough contacts in the industry. I just called up someone else and I was like, hey, can you kind of pick up where this dude left off? And they helped me out with that. Um, but, it can be incredibly traumatizing at times. And there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it. I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning last night sketching, you know, working on getting drafts out for, tattoos that I had coming up this week. And I still have more drawing to do tonight, but that was after some family time. That was after, getting back from the show. There was a lot that I had to do before I could get to that. So forced me to be up until 3 o'clock in the morning. And that I knew was a sacrifice I had to make in order to continue to do this to the extent that I am. It's not fun. And I was very tired and I woke up late this morning, later than I wanted to wake up. But, it's what I knew I had to do in order to be successful. And there's a lot that goes into tattooing that a lot of people don't recognize in this day and age. They don't grasp, the amount of sacrifice that we put into these things and how much time we spend, working on things. Perfect example. This is a sketch I just put up as an available design. Let's see how much time I have into this.
Wow.
Canvas.
That's badass.
Let's see, statistics. 11 hours working on this one sketch that someone might not ever get tattooed. Almost 12 hours. Right?
Well, it's pretty badass. Hopefully,
but
even if no one gets it, they'll still draw some more people in. Hopefully,
so you can see all the different, ideas that I had and how I developed everything. Here's my body. Did I like that? Maybe I want to do more flat underbelly scales. What about arm and hand positions? Right? A couple of ideas, couple of concepts. Well, maybe I'll make this a little smaller, a little bigger. Maybe I'll redraw parts of it. You can see all the different possible hand combinations I was going through.
Yeah. That's the thing about art. It's like, what is perfect? You could pick any possibility, right? Each one could work, could not work. At a certain point, you just have to pick something.
Yeah. Going through drawing all the scales. Now I'm doing a refined line. Now I'm starting to shade everything in and just kind of like build it all up in value. But that's 12 hours worth of work that if someone came in and got it done and, I charged them an appropriate amount, that's 12 hours of my time that they're never going to understand that I was working on that one sketch. And it's crazy when you think about it that I'm putting that much time and effort into something. But at the same time, I know that it's only going to benefit me in the long run as far as quality of work that I'm putting out. Yeah, I think that's going to be a bit of a better angle because now that's coming through. Yeah, let's do that. Because now I can do this. Sorry, I just had like an idea. And if this comes back, then this comes forward. I'm trying to practice what I preach a bit more too, and starting to look at perspective and foreshortening a bit more, and how can I incorporate that to create new and interesting angles because there's certain dragon claws that are like the standards, standard angles that everyone that has drawn dragons kind of understands. But I'm trying to be very different, and I'm trying to mix things up a bit more. And that involves taking a bigger kind of step outside my comfort zone and maybe utilizing a different bit of perspective, and that can make or break everything. And I don't even know how much time I have into this one already. I only have 4 hours into this one, so I'm actually way ahead of schedule.
Only.
Well, you get into certain kicks with certain things, and it's like you can't help it when it comes down to, okay, well, yeah, I can draw this leafy vine thing up for your arm. Sure, not a problem. Come in, we'll knock that out real quick. But what I'd really love to be tattooing on you right now is a dragon, because I have all these sweet dragons drawn up and I find them to be really challenging. So I'm putting in a lot of extra effort and time into them to make them look super awesome. So, but yeah, sure, we can do that vine on you. That's not a problem. We'll throw some flowers in there too. Yeah, we can do that. Why not? Um, so it will pay off eventually. It's just a matter of time. Um, part of being a tattoo artist is being patient. You have to be patient, because if you're not, it's not going to come right away. It takes a lot of time, but that time pays off. That patience that you have will pay off eventually. So, how do I? Now I've got a different idea. Maybe I'll do something along these lines. Have the hand obscuring the deltoid and part of the bicep.
Are you excited for your interview tonight?
I am so. I've been like, this is going to sound kind of horrible, and I hope Anthony's not watching this right now. Anthony, if you are, don't get intimidated or anything. But I've been like rehearsing. I've been, trying to think up of new and different and interesting questions. And if I was someone that really wanted to tattoo like James or Anthony or any of the people that they know, like what were the questions that I would want to ask? Um, Granted, I've gotten tattooed by Anthony, so I've had plenty of chances to ask him. So part of it's me trying to remember what questions I did ask, and then what questions would be beneficial for other people, and uh, what are some of the things that I think might be really, really interesting and really helpful for other people that are going to be watching tonight. So it's going to be an absolutely awesome interview. I cannot wait. I already sent him like a page worth of questions, dealing with background information and, all types of other stuff that are pretty standard interview questions. Um, but trying to get into some of the nitty gritty stuff like color palettes and, how are you choosing your colors, and why are you choosing your colors, and, what are some of the most important aspects in tattooing that you try to focus on the most? Like if you had to pick one element, what would it be? Just little stuff like that that could make or break someone that wants to work in that fashion, uh, or with that kind of an illustrative style of tattooing, it could make or break the difference in their success or failure. Um, it's sometimes it's tiny little tidbits that we pick up here and there that really have a transformational kind of impact on our career. And I know I've had quite a few of them from quite a few people and quite a few sources that really kind of have completely changed the way that I do a lot of things. I got a little piece of advice from someone a couple years ago, and I was like, "Oh, well, what machines are you using? Why are you using them?" And they're like, "Honestly, I'm using this one because it was cheap, or a friend gave it to me because they didn't like it, and I learned how to use it." And I was like, "But like, aren't you curious if there's better stuff out there?" And he very politely explained to me that a machine is just a tool. You know, as long as you learn to use that tool, then it doesn't matter. Yeah, there might be better stuff out there, but if I know how to use this tool and this tool works for me just fine, why would I bother changing? And it made me look at tattoo machines more as tools. And because of that, I really stopped I started looking at them a bit more in that aspect. And that made me turn around and kind of reevaluate a lot of the stuff that I was doing, because I was always on the quest for like the perfect or the best machine out there. And I've got all kinds of coil machines, and I've got rotary machines from different companies, and I've got, I tried every needle company you can imagine for different stuff, you know, uh, for, I'll try this company's mags. No, this company's mags are good, but maybe they don't really, maybe they're a little too flat, or maybe they don't have enough of a radius on the curved mag. Maybe they don't have a long enough taper. I was always trying to find that secret sauce. But when I sat down and just started to learn how to use what I had to its fullest extent, it completely changed everything about what I was doing. And and it was all from that one piece of advice that person gave me. And I give them a ton of credit, because their work is phenomenal, and they're not using anything super expensive. I think their machine costs like $250, and was like, and they're doing incredible tattoos with it. And it just made me start to think about things in a different light. Um, so it's like a lot of it doesn't come down to the machine. A lot of it is the person that wields the machine. You know, I mean, there's guys in prison that are putting out fantastic work. Look at any of the work coming out of like San Quentin, right? Um, you know, San Quentin is a prison. It is a maximum security facility, and some of the tattoos that are coming out of there are absolutely gorgeous. And those guys don't have access to professional equipment. So it's got to be the artist, not the machine. And that one philosophy changed everything that I have done since then. So it's little tidbits, little things that someone might hear that could completely change everything that they do and bring them to that next level. And that's part of why I do this podcast. So
I
hopefully,
definitely appreciate what you do here, and that the fact that it's open for everybody to come in and ask questions. And
absolutely. It's and that's part of what part of the way that I was brought into this industry is after a certain period of time, when you have acquired X amount of knowledge, it then becomes your responsibility to pass that knowledge on to the next generation. Whether it's uh, tattoo machine knowledge, or how to make needles, or application techniques, or color techniques, or different lining techniques and materials. It becomes the responsibility of the person that has gained that much knowledge to pass that knowledge on to other people. Otherwise, that knowledge dies with that person. So it's something that I've taken to heart quite a bit over the past, 5 years or so. Is cool. I've done all this research. I've, looked into all this stuff. I can tell you the difference in, uh, the different types of dispersions being used in tattoo pigments, let alone, organic versus inorganic compounds, and needle types for less skin trauma, and, all types of stuff, right? But I've gained that kind of a knowledge base. So it then rests on me to share it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna start bringing some questions with me, I think. I do have a couple questions if we have time
Yeah,
today.
shoot.
I was wondering if you would recommend any Procreate brush sets for just creating designs, sketching, tattoo designs. I
So
don't have any extra packs. I just use like Procreate pencil and the technical pen mostly, plus the airbrush sets or whatever is included.
So I've got just to give you an idea of like, so I'm also a tech nerd. Just bear with me here.
I can tell you're a very analytical person. Yes.
I am. So this is the bottom of my brush set list. Okay. Just to give you an idea of how many different brush sets I've used. And this is only part of them. I had to start taking some off.
Oh my God.
Right. I've got some awesome brush sets. I've got some that I almost never use. Some that I have just in case, right? Like you can download lightning brush sets for free on, just go to your browser, open it up, and do a search for free Procreate brush sets. You'll find some great ones. Here's more lightning. Here's seamless lightning. And these
Okay,
were, I
what about
use
like
all of these for different, stuff. But here's my go-tos are Procreate Pencil Sketch, right? And these are just some of the settings that I have. I don't have too many. I know I've got my maximum size is 28% because I don't really need to draw or use anything like super monster huge. I know for a fact I have it set so that it's not completely opaque when I sketch with it. It's never going to be a true, like if I drew a black line, it would never be a truly dark, pure black line. It would always be a lighter gray line with this brush because all I use it for is sketching. I always like the uniform glaze or the light glaze, simply because it allows you to build. So every layer that you use is going to be more and more opaque. So you can build up those layers almost like you would be using for oil painting or acrylic painting, starting out with a very, very thin layer, and then another layer on top, 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 and until you've got it so that it's just the right tone or just the right darkness that you want. So light glazed or uniform glaze are going to be my recommendations for the sketching pencil. And you can set it to be, size. So if it's ultra light pressure, it's going to be a lot smaller. Um, I never have the flow all the way up. Same thing with opacity. It's got a little bit of pressure opacity to it. but it will only achieve a certain amount of opacity. Sometimes I'll kick it on an angle, and you can see I've got the size set up there. So the more I tilt my pencil, the bigger it's going to be, but also the lighter it's going to be. So I can really kind of build up if I'm working on like a value study or a sketch. So that's my sketching pencil. I love that one. I've tried different ones. I've made different ones. This is another one that I have that's got more of like a texture to it. I think I've got, uniformed glaze. This one doesn't have any size differentiation. So I should probably put that up a little bit. But if you look down here, maximum opacity is 91. So ideally, I would want that to be a little smaller. This one's very focused on opacity. So I would really have to go over something a whole lot in order to really make it dark, which is exactly what I want for when I'm sketching. Keep it light, keep it loose, keep it big. And then as you dial in, as you refine, as you work on your edges, your shapes, your lines, that's when you want it to start getting darker. So that's just one that I created. You can find different pencil texture brushes for free everywhere on Google. For inking, I've created a whole bunch of different ones. You've got stipples for like shadow areas. If I'm drawing a tattoo stencil, technical pen's my typical go-to. And you can manipulate that one pen in so many different ways that you can create a whole brush set out of just that. Maximum smooth. For this one, I've got my stabilization and streamline all the way up. Motion filtering is turned up. So you can't help but get a perfectly smooth line when you use this brush. Accent liners are great for creating like little tapered teardrop shapes or like little accent lines because they taper off. And this was born out of the technical pen, by the way.
Cool. I never thought to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always just like changing my settings around instead of saving them as a whole new.
So if you slide your pen to the left, you'll see share, duplicate, and delete, right?
Cool.
Never hit delete. Don't ever hit delete. If you do, let me know and I'll send you a replacement brush. But if you do a duplicate, right, it creates the same thing. Go in there and create different ones that you want with certain specific settings. Maybe I don't want that to taper there. Maybe I want it to have a bit more of a size taper. Great for very, very tapered lines. Maybe if I'd use taper on both sides, it would go thin, thick, thin, but I don't want to do that. I want this to start out thick. And then I, just by light, lifting up a little bit, using a lot lighter pressure, it'll create a much thinner line. Don't have to have tip animation on if you don't want to.
One thing I was trying to do was get a consistent line weight even when I'm zooming in
Okay.
and out and without having the pressure. I think I figured out how to turn the pressure off. But do you know what I mean? Like when you zoom in on Procreate and then you do the line, it changes the thickness.
Like this?
Yeah. I don't know if I see your drawing right now.
Well, let's go to there. Perfect. Turn that off. So
Especially
I've
when
got a
when
lot
I'm
of
inking something and I want to have like
Yeah.
a consistent line weight.
So if you want to have just like a consistent, steady, solid line that starts and ends at the same level, that's actually very easy to create. For that, I would duplicate your technical pen, right? Come in here under stabilization. I would turn stabilize up and streamline pressure all the way up. Under taper, I would make sure that that's set to absolutely no taper. But here's the kicker. Here's the key to getting a perfect pencil and a perfect line every single time. First things first, no pressure adjustment in the size. And if you want to make sure that it absolutely 100% will never change the size again, take your maximum brush size, move your minimum brush size up to the exact same point. Now,
Whoa.
it doesn't matter what size I make this, right? I can go bigger or I can go all the way down, and it's not going to matter. The size of that brush will never change ever. Doesn't matter if you press harder or softer, tilt your pen, none of that matters.
Even if
because
you
that
zoom
is
in?
locked. It is locked.
So I was zooming in and it was giving me like a thinner line, I guess.
As in something like this, where when you zoomed in, it would look kind of like that.
Or no, if I was using the same like pressure and everything, if I was doing the line and then I would zoom in on a more detailed part, it would, and then zoom back out, it would be like, it would be drawing at a different thickness. It would be drawing at a different thickness depending on
So
how far zoomed in I
what
was
you're
in.
talking about is, so instead of, if you were to use like the marquee tool to select a layer, and let me do this, duplicate, flatten, right? Let's say I wanted to go through and do a refined line drawing on this, you know. So if I zoom out on this, right, using my marquee tool, say I blow it up to make it bigger, right, so I can really get some detail in there, or I zoom out, yeah, it's going to be drawing at a different weight because the pencil or the pen size hasn't changed, but the image itself has. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, or don't change your image size, but just like draw a line on something and then zoom in and draw a line beside it. You have the same thickness. That's good.
Yeah.
Mine doesn't right now, but I'm going to mess with my settings.
So that
And when I
might
zoom in, it gets smaller.
That is should be under. No, it wasn't dynamics. It wasn't color dynamics. That was under. Check your. I want to say either your bleed. Where was the other? Wasn't grain. I know exactly that there is a setting in here. I just forget where I put it or where they put it. Forget which one it is, but I know that there's a setting that will allows you to orient to screen. Make sure that that is not on.
Properties, orient to screen. Mine's off on this one.
Okay. Now check, go under Apple Pencil and check size compression.
Size compression's on.
Okay. Dynamics.
Dynamics, everything's 0.
Okay. Go to shape.
Shape. I have count of 1.
Okay, that's fine. It shouldn't really matter too much.
Proof filtering.
Good. And you don't have any kind of taper on or anything like that?
Taper's off now, but where's the max and min brush sizes?
Properties.
Properties. There we go. So I'll turn that to the same. Okay, let's test it out.
Cool.
Okay, I think it's working now.
Cool.
I think it would have to do with the max and min. But yeah, that was always bugging me because I was trying to do like a consistent, thank you so much, by the way.
Yeah, no worries.
Trying to do a consistent line weight, and then if I zoomed in to do like a more tricky area or something, it would change the line weight, and then I'd have to change my size or just double it up. And if I was trying to do like a more traditional piece where those slight variations were more obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, for traditional work, you want to be able to set your line weight and never have it change, because you want that solid, consistent, bold line going around everything.
And before I got my new iPad, I was using like just not an iPad Pro, but like a smaller iPad, and I didn't have an Apple Pencil, and I didn't have that problem because I didn't have all the extra features of tapering
Right.
and all this stuff. So then I got my iPad Pro. I was like, man, this is so cool. All the things you can do with the Apple Pencil, and haven't quite studied it in detail yet. All these different features and everything. But one day I'll figure them all out. Gonna watch some YouTube videos or just come and bug you a bunch of times.
Hey, by all means, man, that's part of the reason why we do these skill building Sundays. I actually teach a seminar on Procreate and all the intricacies of it at the Paradise Gathering. So if you have any questions, by all means, hit me up, let me know. I'm actually going to adjust this back up a bit, and then maximum good.
Nice.
Where was rendering? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've tried every possible brush combination you can possibly imagine. I've played around with dual brushes. Dual brushes can be really cool and really useful to create hollow lines. So if I'm up here, like I've got this guy that I created from the medium airbrush. So if I wanted to create a hollow line,
Oh, cool.
I could do that, and it adjusts based on size. So I can make them bigger or smaller, whatever I need. This one's also kind of cool because it will taper itself all the way around. So if I'm making a finalized line drawing, I can go through and say I'm doing some background wind sweeps, right? I can go through and maybe this will. But then what this will allow me to do is go through and say, okay, here's my automatic selection tool. I can select inside of everything, right? And then erase the parts that I want to erase to create that kind of a negative design in whatever it is I'm drawing. So it will allow me to go through and, basically move stuff around so that I can create a really nice negative space design or negative pattern, whatever I need to do, but it will allow me to select just that small area in almost like an Art Nouveau kind of flow. So it's really come in handy. But once again, I've been playing around with Procreate and brushes, and I've designed a few texture brush sets. For if I'm doing like bioorganic kind of stuff, I know exactly what brush sets I need to use for that. Some of them are based off of the Reinventing the Tattoo texture wheel. Got like a whole bioorganic texture kind of set that I created that's not available to the public. You've got to come to my seminar in order to get that. Or, I mean, I guess you
That's
could
awesome.
probably ask someone that's been to my seminar and probably get it from them, because Lord knows, everyone in this day and age is kind of sharing everything as far as all that stuff goes. So, not that I'm a fan of distributing stuff that I created for free, but I understand that it does happen.
Oh.
So, yeah. But we are getting to that time. So why don't you go through and give us a quick little sign off? Tell us how we can get a hold of you if we're interested in purchasing a hat or art or a t-shirt that you've made or anything like that.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks again for the help there.
Hey, anytime.
Definitely appreciate it. Yeah, I'm still kind of on a hiatus from social media. I am at the
Fair
Fredericton
enough.
Farmers Market. I did just create an account, but I have like nothing on it. But I'm gonna go with the name Good Wave Tattoo. That's gonna be my thing I'm working
There
towards.
we go. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for popping on today and asking questions. And always like to have people on here that are willing to help out and ask questions and, create a little bit more of that, dynamic conversation. So much appreciated. Thank you as always. For anyone that's out there that wants to get a hold of me, you can hit me up on Instagram. It's right here at Philly Inc. on Instagram, at Philly Inc. on TikTok, or you can always email Jason at reinventingthetattoo.com. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming in today. I don't know what the AI music is going to sound like, but we're going to try that out. Maybe we'll go with this one. Hopefully it's not like terrible, but we'll see. But until then, keep it sketchy, keep your hands moving. Thank you very much for tuning in today. If you like today's episode, hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom of the page. And I will see you guys all later tonight in about 5 hours for the live interview with Anthony Tex from Deadly Tattoos. Thanks very much for joining, everyone. Take care, be safe, and have fun.